Hey everybody, what's up? Stinger here again, and welcome to episode number 3 of my Devlog series on my Unnamed colony game. I didn't make an episode last week because the last 2 weeks have been pretty busy for me. So, in the last 2 weeks I probably got less done than I would have gotten done in 1 week normally. But hey, at least I got some stuff done, so let's check that out, right? So the first thing that you'll notice is something very small, and that is that I've actually added some scales to these buildings, right? So you can see we have like a little small house or something here, with this mansion here, and then this kind of tall thingy here, which could be a windmill. You'll see I changed up the buttons here, but this is really just for fun. It doesn't really mean anything. You may remember I said that I wanted the dynamic UI here. That's not in there, this is still hard-coded. I basically didn't have any time to do anything on the UI, so it's also that this bug here still persists where you click into the world while when you're clicking into the UI. So that bug still exists, and it's also still hard-coded. I still got to do that at some point, but didn't get around. I changed up the scales here just to have some variety here. It just creates a bit more of a town feeling, if you will, right? It just adds a little bit. It's really not a big deal, just changing up some numbers. In the final game, of course, this will not be the case. The scales of the buildings will all just be 1, right? And the actual size differences will be made with models. However, for now, I only have the cubes, so I'm just scaling them to have a bit of a variety here. So the next thing that I've done, some actual coding stuff, some actual game feature stuff, is the ability to rotate buildings. So if I have a building here, and if I click the R button, or rather if I hold the R button, then you can see it rotates, and if I press Shift and then the R button, you can see it rotates the other direction. And it's actually keeping the rotation, so as you can see, I can basically just go ahead, place a few buildings in the same rotation to have them in line, like a line or something, right? There's really not much to it. What I want to do for the future is the ability to, instead of just clicking to place building, the ability to hold down the left mouse button and then basically drag the mouse somewhere. And if you hold for say half a second or so, then the building will actually rotate in such a way that it will face the mouse, right? So I guess that would be pretty awesome. Because it just makes the whole rotation thing a lot easier, I think. But it's something that I want to add. Another thing that I've added, and actually the last big thing that I've added, is first of all, if you select the building, you can see it now glows. I will replace this with a proper like outline shade and stuff, but for now it just changes the material to this glowing stuff. But the last big thing that I've added, kind of big thing, is the ability to multi-select. So if I select a building like this building is now selected. If I select another building, obviously the original one gets deselected because you only select one building when clicking around. However, if I press Shift and then click around, you can see I can select multiple buildings. And if I then select another building, it will deselect everything, like if I don't hold Shift, right? Obviously I can delete multiple buildings at once, so I can these and press delete and it will delete. Obviously the button still isn't working, but as I said, I didn't really work on the UI. So yeah, that's the thing, and it's really not that much of progress, like of actual progress in terms of coding that I've done and stuff. But I think the small changes that I've done already kind of add to this sort of town-ish feeling that it can get. You still need quite a bit of imagination, I guess, but I'm just gonna show a quick screenshot that I've done of a scene that I've just built for fun, and it already gets a bit of a town feeling across, even though it's still just colored keyboards, but I like it. I like how it's coming together. So hopefully next week I will get some more features done, and yeah. So last episode, that is 2 weeks ago, I kind of forgot to talk about the technical statistics that I said I would add at the end of every video. So I basically just added them at the end without saying anything because I didn't have time to then record it. And since then I thought it would be pretty boring if I would just every single day, or every single week rather, just reiterate every single point, being like, oh, there's many scenes, there's many scripts, etc, etc, because that would be pretty boring. Instead, I thought, first of all, we now have a graph, of course, since we have multiple data points, we can make a quick graph out of that, which is really nice. And I thought, instead of just going through the list and being like, there's many of that, there's many of that, I would instead just show the list to you like this so you can see everything if you want to. And in talking, I will only address some of the more interesting things, some of the things that I think are interesting anomalies or anything like that. So, over the last 3 weeks, right, obviously the last week was where I didn't make a devlog video. And you can see over the last 3 weeks, the amount of objects and scripts and anything barely changed at all. The only real change is that the dev materials changed from 5 to 6 from second to last week to last week. And that is the whole material for when you select the building. Right? Other than that, nothing changed in these values other than the lines of code, because, well, code is the only thing that already changed in this, right? I messed around with a few objects, like the whole scale thing and all, but that doesn't change any of these values, right? It doesn't change the amount of prefabs or the amount of objects that we have. So, the only real change here that we can see is actually just the code, which just, I think, exemplifies how little progress I made, I guess. Especially as you can see, we don't really have that many more lines of code, right? Only having like 51 more lines of code. Obviously that doesn't mean that I only made that little amount of progress, because progress doesn't always equate to more lines of code, but you know, usually when you're adding more complexity to your game, you actually get more lines of code. So yeah, I didn't really add more complexity to the game in that sense, or more gameplay complexity, significantly more. More like just, you know, changing up things and adjusting things and stuff like that. For example, the whole multiple selection thing was mostly replacing existing code rather than adding new code. And yeah, that's basically all that's left to say about this dataset, I guess. So hopefully for next week, the dataset will be a little more interesting. So, see you in the next episode. Goodbye.